Hi, it's Greg again. Just wanted to add another video as requested about the early years elementary and lower elementary portfolio piece. And also I was going to show you something that I've designed that is in development programming right now. Both of these are in programming stage right now. This element will be done probably within the next couple of weeks, I think, to be followed by the learning stories one I'll show you in a second. So in this case, this is for younger kids who may not have unique IDs, right, or logins for the school, or for whom they need a more visual interface to work with. And that could be kids with reading issues or language issues as well. So there's a generic login for kindergarten in this case, which shows all the teachers, okay, in that grade. If a student clicks on their teacher, I should show that, a list comes up. These are icons, but they're meant to be just pictures of students. A list comes up with pictures of the students in that class. The student clicks on their own picture. Up comes a secondary thing to identify them. It's something they've set up, will have set up earlier. It's an image that they've selected as to be their visual password. So they click on that image, and then that gives them connection, secure access to their portfolio, and make sure that they're working in their space, which is important with kids. And then I go to, and again, these are just icons I use for design and demonstration purposes. On the left is the student picture, and there's three simple icons that are here. The first one is an add, when they want to add an artifact to a portfolio. They click on the plus button. And if they want to click on something, add something that might be on the iPad they're on or whatever it might be, they can do so. They click on that add button. There's a link to their Google Drive if they have one. There's a link to the an image folder on an iPad or whatever it might be, a film roll. Same thing with video. So if there's anything stored, they can also sort of browse to try to find it if it's on a thumb drive or whatever it might be, but it allows them to do that. Okay, so that's just add one. This one is a camera icon. So they click on that and it will access the camera on the device. So they can take pictures directly live, and it just adds them to the portfolio. Same thing with video. It will access the video functions of the device in order to allow them to grab a piece of evidence on the fly, or a teacher to do so to add to a student's portfolio, whatever that might be. Same thing with an audio run, right? We want to make sure we can capture things. So if we ask a student to explain what they're doing, they can do so here, or explain how they feel about a project they're working on. They could do so, and it accesses the microphone for the device. And what then pops up really when they add something is the ability for them to, and this can come in different ways. This is what I designed for this school. You can see the microphone icon to the right, so students can do voice entrance, I guess we'll call it that. And we're going to be having a speech-to-text function, which will then put the text in there so it's searchable and so on later on. So really the only thing they have to do is give it a name, just so we have a title for it. And then there's descriptions and so on, and reflections. Now, these icons here, these 5 icons are representative of that school's 5 impacts. So a student can tag them as to which one they believe it represents. Okay, so they'd obviously need to learn these icons or have some help doing it, but we know that can be done. They know this one's a collaboration or whatever it might be. So they can say this is a good thing of collaboration, or with an aide or with a teacher or whatever it might be. And then we have ways, and this is just again a sample. Smiley faces are not everyone's thing, but I just wanted to demonstrate that there's a way for them to self-assess with help, or as they learn how to do so on their own, because we want to be able to have students start to think. It's a really important self-directed learning skill. Start to think about looking at their pieces in a qualitative way, right, at their work, and trying to articulate what they think it demonstrates, and then a reflection as well. So they can capture those things in an easy way. If they go to the search function, they can, you see we've got those icons for the 5 impacts around a dynamic pie chart, for instance, just to demonstrate this, which would show proportions based on the number of artifacts and underneath those 5 impacts. They can click on one of those wedges and it will dig down, or they can say, I want to see stuff I've contributed or stuff my teachers contributed, which is shown by those 2 pictures at the bottom. And they click down and it brings up basically an artifact list. And it gives them the option then to also do some sorting and filtering. I want to see movies that were about this critical thinking thing, or I want to see the pictures that I have on that. So simple icons to allow them to sort and filter and look at their work, because we want kids not just to collect things, but to interact with them. Now, as I said, the only thing that I see that they need to do on first submitting an artifact really is the title. Just so we've got something that it'll be timestamped, we'll know the kid's name, et cetera, et cetera. But they might want to go back later, or a teacher might want to go back later and do give some feedback. So that's what this is, a reflection icon. And they click on that, it brings up the same, sorry, I'll just get, brings up the same things, but really what it does is it allows them to look for pieces, a list of artifacts that have not been reflected upon or self-assessed yet, so they can go back and do it, right? Just an easy way to do so. So that's really what's the basic part of the portfolio piece for the younger kids. And I also wanted to show you a little bit of show you a little bit of the learning story piece. It's another one that I've come up with. So learning stories, as you may or may not know, are, I think it started in New Zealand, Australia, are a way to provide ongoing feedback to parents and students, usually used in the younger ages in elementary schools. So it's an alternate form of reporting and communication often. So in this case, what it says, we want teachers to be able to access quickly a student's learning stories for what they might want to be. We want them to create a new learning story. And often what happens with learning stories is they might start with a template. So the system would have a series of templates that they could choose, or ones that they can preset ones that they can use that they think fits the topic of that piece of work. Now, and they can also go in, this is just a quick one, but they can also go in and decide what components they want to go in what sections of the document in that way. So a learning story often will have common content, right? So it might be a description of the activity or the project that's common to all learning stories that will be sent for individual students. So a teacher can add that. It might be a common image, common description of the task, whatever it might be. They can add that common content. And then they can go in and create a unique learning story for however many students they want to do, right? And maybe they want to send one for all students, or maybe they have a different setup where they send one for 5 students every week and it rotates, whatever it might be. But it allows them to go in and say, okay, this is a learning story for Betty, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to add custom content. Custom pictures, custom video, because this is digital, right? Custom text, whatever it might be, in here to give that personalized description, right, of Betty's experience and the learning that was demonstrated. And then there's an icon down at the bottom. I can save it for later use. I can start a new one for another student. I can send it. And it would go to parents. We have their email addresses. They would get an email and a secure link to see that learning story from that kid. So again, it's a different form of communication using the evidence that we have within Learning Board, right? And the structures that are there to support. Often this is done with early years and lower elementary students in lieu of normal reporting processes for most of the year. Okay, so that's it. And then they can browse learning stories and all that kind of stuff. Either a parent can see the gradual build up of the learning stories for their kids. Teachers can see them, can filter them, can do it. And again, the idea is to make use of this for the next year as well. So I can look at my incoming kids and I can look at the learning stories for them last year and get a sense of the child and understand them better. Okay, so sorry for the little blip in there. I had a call from my wife. I'll get back to her. It's her birthday, and I will talk to you soon, but I hope that gives you an idea of some of the things that are coming up that would allow some of the functionality that we talked about work for younger students with language abilities, that kind of stuff. So I hope that helps, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.